I just saw a thing that said my views are my own, which they've always been. Good afternoon. This is Professor Amina Al-Din on a Muslim Network TV production called Critical Talk. We have been a little absent, holidays, colds, flu, etc. But we are back. And what I wanted to do today was to talk a little bit about the place of the song, of music in our lives. We have lived through so much in the last year, from a pandemic. Many of us had never really thought about pandemics, to, oh my God, staying at home with people you thought you knew, but you got to know a little bit better, to those with children trying to orchestrate homework. And oh my God, now I'm a teacher. Then we looked up and turned around, and it was Ramadan for many of us who are Muslim. And it's, oh my God, what do I do now? Then we turned around further, and we found out for those who had saved to go on Hajj, that Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca in Saudi Arabia, was canceled. Then we turned around even further, and there were protests in the streets. And then we turned around, and not only were there protests in the streets, the glaring disparities in health access, etc., were put on front stage, along with poverty and food deserts, all of this stuff. Then we turned around, and 6 to 8 months later, we had an insurgency where people wanted to kill, maim, hang, and otherwise destroy our capital. I thought to myself, what do we need to begin to calm our souls? Well, of course, it's music. Music tells stories about the near and far. It tells stories about the stranger and the loved one. It puts many, many things in perspectives for us. So I reached out to a well-known jazz and rhythm and blues singer that I happen to have the privilege to call a kid of mine, and talking about music. She has an extraordinary career, and I am talking about the fabulous Tammy McCann. She's an internationally recognized jazz vocalist and currently an artist in residence at the Music Institute of Chicago. Tammy has performed with such luminaries as Chicago's own Ramsey Lewis and NEA jazz master Von Freeman, John Clayton, Bradford Marsalis, Joe Locke, Charles McPherson, Dee Dee Bridgewater, Carmen Bradford, and toured as a Raylette with the great Ray Charles. As an educator, Tammy brings me as a part of every human community, bringing us together and helping us to interact with one another. Alice Clayhorn, president of Strayhorn Song Publishing Incorporated, and a mentor of Tammy, says Tammy is a star with a one of a kind voice. And that's just being modest. But I want you to know she has recently won a whole host of awards. And I am just, I'm so tickled, I'm crazy. Salam alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. But you know, your career is so extraordinary that I want to reach back and talk about high school opera.
Well,
And I want to, because, you know, we don't have the chance to meet opera singers. You know, hear them, I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but it sounds good. So I want to reach back for a minute and just talk about, how does one train to be an opera singer?
how does one train to be an opera singer? Indeed. I really had no idea how one trains to be an opera singer until I met Reverend Dr. Lena McLean at Kenwood Academy High School.
Mm-hmm.
My goal was to be I didn't have a goal to be a singer. I just thought it would be fun to be in the choir. And so when she said, I want you to be a soloist, and I was like, okay, well, who do I like? Well, I like Shaka Khan. That would be cool to sing some music like Shaka. And she was very clear, and she said to me, no, you're gonna sing like Leontine Price. And I said, well, who's Leontine Price? And okay, because in my generation, you just say yes, ma'am. You do what you're told, and you keep it moving.
Yeah.
I said yes, ma'am, and so, but I wasn't happy about it. And so
Right.
she started to share with me this different way of singing, different way of presenting my voice that I'd never understood before. She talked to me about physiological placement, right? And where you hear your voice and where you feel your voice and breathing in a different way. And this was all new to me, and now in my life now I recognize that she was giving us as babies, and we're talking about 13, 14-year-old children. She was giving us master's degree level instruction. And so something that had never been a thought to me became my love, and still is to this day, my real treasure, classical vocal singing. I sang my first opera at 15 years old, Cavalleria Rusticana by Mascagni.
Wait a
And
minute.
my role.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna do you in. Give me one. I don't even know what you call it. Give me
Amina,
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
ladies and gentlemen, only Amina would do this to you. Uh, uh, um, uh, um. That's 2 seconds, 3 seconds.
No, but you can hear it. I don't know what you said. I don't care what you said, but I can hear it.
That was Visitarte. And Miss McLean, Miss McLean is the reason why I'm talking to you today. She laid out for me the foundation, and that foundation that she shared with every student that she touched allowed
Wow.
me to go and pursue any musical direction that I chose. Right. So at the time
Wow.
that I was Miss McLean, I didn't know what jazz was, but she gave me the foundation that I needed.
So how did you move? I mean, I know you did the opera for a minute, but how did you move into jazz? Opera tells particular kinds of stories,
Yes,
often
ma'am.
tragic love stories, right? Now, I know that they tell tragic love stories. I don't know what they said, but I know it was tragedy, right? How did you move into jazz, which tells a different kind of sometimes tragic, sometimes just off the cuff love story?
I came to jazz by no intention of my own. I got a scholarship to classical voice to a wonderful small Baptist oriented college called Virginia Union University in Richmond, Virginia.
Mm.
And I was walking down the hallway of a practice room, and I heard a young man playing this music, beautiful music. And I knocked on the door and I said, hey, who is that you're playing? That's really fantastic. Is that Bizet? I mean, I'd never heard anything like it. And so Bizet was my only concept of what he could be, who he could be tapping into. And he
Right.
said, no, that's Thelonious Monk. And I
What?
said, who's Thelonious Monk? And he looked at me at three heads and was like, and the song was around midnight. Well, I couldn't sleep. I had to know what that was and where it was coming from. It really, it it opened something up in me that I had never experienced before. I mean, I loved classical music and I was laser focused on it, but
Right.
this was something that was challenging. It was something that was completely different, and I was really intrigued by what by the there were no lyrics being played, so I didn't know that there were words at the time. But
Okay.
I was really intrigued by just the what the chordal structure, how it spoke to me, and how it made me feel. And so
Okay.
I came back.
Can you explain to us what you mean by when you say choral structure?
When I say chordal structure, when I say chordal structure, I mean the blues. I
Oh,
mean, I mean that familiar yet not familiar uh, theme and flow that runs through the music. This,
oh,
this feeling that connected to me, that was familiar to me, that strung through the blues, and it's strung through the Negro spiritual, and it's strung through, and then that the origins of jazz in New Orleans. There was something familiar in that music, yet I had never heard it before. You
wow.
know, the European classical music was something that I had a proficiency in and
Right.
that I really loved. However, when I heard that Thelonious Monk, it was as if it came from a time and space that was almost like, how you have a feeling of deja vu.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I know this is connected to me in some way, connected to my heritage, connected to my culture. I know this music that I'm hearing is connected to me in some way, but I don't know what it is. And so that's the journey that I went on to seek where this music was coming from. And so I came back home to Chicago, and I went to all these different, Chicago is just a plethora of different musical presentations. There's smooth jazz, there's avant-garde, jazz. There's every type of music that you can think of is based here in Chicago. And I went around to all these different clubs, and I was like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. That's not it. And so a friend of mine told me, why don't you meet me down at this place called Beige Man's on 71st and Rhodes here in Chicago. It's this little lounge, we call small bars on the south side or west side. We call them lounges. It seats about maybe 60 to 80 people, very intimate space. And in this space was Vaughn and George Freeman holding court. And the minute I walked in the door, I said, that's it. That's what I've been looking for, And I sat there, and for about a month, I came back every week, just making sure that I wasn't crazy. Because remember, I know nothing about jazz. Just making sure that what I was hearing was what I was looking for. And once I was certain that that's what it was, I walked up and introduced myself and, said that, I'm really interested in this music and I want to learn how to sing it. And so they had an open mic. And they said, oh, he was so warm, Von Freeman, Vonsky, as we call him here in Chicago. He was so warm and welcoming. And he said, come on up and sing. And I was like, okay, great. And I told the pianist, I think my first jazz song was My Funny Valentine.
Okay.
And I said, well, I think
I got to take a break. And when we come back, I want to hear a little bit of My Funny Valentine. So I'll give you a moment to collect yourself. And we're going to take a break. This is Professor Amanal Dean. I'm talking with the fabulous Tammy McCann. And get your shoes on, guys. I've heard it, and it will rock you. This is Critical Talk, a production of Muslim Network TV, and we'll be right back in a couple of minutes.
Billboards are popping up all over the country with an
Our neighbors don't realize that Muslims are absolutely opposed to ISIS.
Salam. My name is Abdul Malik Mujahid. I'm an imam in Chicago.
16 shots! No me!
No justice!
No me!
So how do we bring up the energy which can really have an impact on the world?
You need to build bridges of understanding among people, and we need to have America moving forward.
That lesson learned brought the strength of humanity to America, which is the diversity.
Mujahid Talks, only on Muslim Network TV. Faithfully connected.
This is Professor Amina Al-Din, and I'm with let me put it truthfully. I am harassing the fabulous Tammy McCann, and because I think it's so important that people who don't know the various genres of music out there to get a little taste. And once you get a taste, let me tell you, if you want to get addicted to something, get addicted to good music. This is a production of Muslim Network TV, and this is Critical Talk. And if Tammy is still talking to me, I want to hear my funny Valentine. I don't know what she's doing over there. Turn your mic on.
I'm on, Mama.
Yeah, you are now.
I'm on. First of all, no, I'm not talking to you. And second of all, the story of My Funny Valentine needs to be in context. So you asked me, how did I come to jazz? So My Funny Valentine was the first jazz song that I learned. Or so I thought. And so I had sat for a month watching Vaughn and George Freeman hold court at Benjamin's on the south side of Chicago. And I got up the courage to go up and sing. And I said, I do My Funny Valentine. And I said, My funny Valentine, sweet comic. And so this guy in the back said, that ain't jazz. And he was yelling across the room. And he was like, what is she doing? What is that? And so, they let me finish. And Mr. Freeman said to me later, he was like, okay, that was very nice, sweetie. But what we want to do is I need you to listen. He said, this right here, he said, this is the best instrument that you're ever going to have when it comes to connecting to this music, your ears. He said, listen to this saxophone. And so he played it. And it was so beautiful. He said, match your tone. Match your tone to this saxophone. Right. Match your expression to the instruments on the bandstand. And he said, and then we'll go from there. We'll build from there. And that was my very first lesson in transferring this classical presentation and physiology to a jazz presentation. It was the hardest thing I've ever done vocally in my life. And it's something that was completely a gift to me. And now, at this stage in my career, that conversation happened in 1992. And so here I am now. And the ability to go from classical to jazz was a real journey. And now going back from jazz to classical is less of a obstacle because I understand the headspace of it, the physiological presentation of it, right? And though I'm not the classical girl that I used to be, I still love it and I enjoy singing it whenever I get a chance.
So how does My Funny Valentine sound today?
How does My Funny Valentine sound today? Um, my funny Valentine,
Oh, girl, get it.
sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile when my heart. Oh, a little bit different, just a
And
little
that's
bit,
a little bit. That's a
a little
whole
bit.
bit. I have um to know that you have remade in your own voice some of the classics. But I think that we need to know about this training of lungs, the training of you were telling me one day about where one projects their voice from, you know,
Mm.
in your head or if it's down here. I was trying to get over laryngitis and you've given me all kind of directions I didn't get. Um, but I think that that goes with presentations, when people are speaking and whether or not we like to hear them or not, you know, is in that control of the breath and where it's coming from. Give us some more training.
I think you said it best there at the end, the control of the breath and where it's coming from.
Mhm.
So, um, one of the things that I learned from Miss McLean was a type of breathing called diaphragmatic breathing,
Mm.
where you are very connected to you connect the tones that you're creating to
Mm.
the breath that you're taking, and your breathing is housed in through your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is like a piston, right? And it goes up and down, up and down. And so as you breathe and take in, as you take the breath in, it's like you're sipping a straw. So you sip through a straw and you take the breath in and then you release the breath. It's almost like when you're doing yoga, ladies and gentlemen. So it's that yoga is the same type of breathing where you breathe with your body cavity and then you release it slowly out. And so with that, once you master that approach to breathing, then the type of music that you choose to sing can become almost effortless. Now, when you were hoarse, that's when we were talking about where your voice is coming from, where you're projecting your voice from, right? With any instrument, there are holes and valves. So a trumpet. So
Mhm.
you push down this valve, and it does something, and you push down this valve and it creates another note, right? Well, just imagine your head with all these holes. You have your nose and your mouth, and all of these make the physical presence of your voice. People have said, why didn't Barbara Streisand ever get a nose job? She has this famous pronounced
Beat.
what is the word I'm looking for?
A beat.
No, she has this pronounced what is the word I'm
No,
looking for? Profile. And so one of the things that was most important is that when you change any of this, you're subject to change the way that the air flows through your body,
no.
right? So the way that the air flows through your nose and your mouth will be different if you change your nose, if you change certain things about your physical presence. And
Okay.
so you don't want to take a chance on that when it's these millimeters that make the difference, right? And so that's what we were talking about when you and I were talking about how you project your voice and how everybody's voice is different. So that's why Sarah's voice sounds different than Billie Holiday's voice sounds different than Ella's voice, because the vessel that the sound is emitting from is different.
Well, I happen to know that you structured and choreographed this really big deal out in Nebraska. I think it was Nebraska. It's one of those states I'm not likely to visit for young people. And I want you to talk about how the singer becomes the master teacher.
How the singer becomes the master teacher. You know, these are some really great questions,
I
Dr. Alvin. Uh,
know.
um, how the singer becomes the master teacher, indeed. I find that I happen to be executive director of the Brownville Jazz Retreat in Brownville, Nebraska. And it's an honor that I've held for 2.5 years now. And what we are focused on there is voice and the anatomy of the rhythm section. How the singer becomes the master teacher is to follow along what I believe is the archetype of jazz education, which is a apprenticeship method of learning music, right? When I think of Buddy Bolden, and I think of Louis Armstrong, and I think of Billie Holiday, and you know, all of these early originators of the art form, how they learned the music was more about the individuals that were around them and the trial and error approach to the music, and being supported by those that happen to be who were above the tier from you. And so I feel that it's really important to have what I call the cats in the classrooms. So one of the things that we wanted to do at Brownville Jazz Retreat is bring in these amazing artists to share not just their experiences, but to pass on that apprenticeship model to not just the students of the music, but individuals that want to teach this music. Because there are many music teachers who, you know, they go to school to deal with music education, but might not necessarily understand jazz per se. And so being able to teach them how the pedagogical approach to teaching jazz. And as a vocalist, I really love the example of, say, Louis Armstrong. So here's this person who, of course, was a masterful instrumentalist, but he chose to show his agency by saying, well, I may not have this, you know, archetype voice, but I feel that I have something to share vocally. I feel like I have something to contribute. So I'm going to, you know, present that to the public because, you know, I feel like I can make a connection, right? And so that to me is a wonderful example for vocalists to engage with the public, through their expression of this music, because all of these songs, they're like little folk tales, and every generation expresses and tell these stories in a different way, right? And Louis Armstrong may play a song completely different than, you know, say Wynton Marsalis would tell the same song, right? So here we are separated by several generations, but the song and the presentation foundationally is the same, but it's interpreted through the lens of each generation. And so that's the beauty of, that's how the singer becomes the teacher, in my opinion.
We have a question from our audience. Tammy, what are some of the most challenging pieces of classical music you've sung?
What are the
You know
most
what?
challenging?
One of the things you can think about, Tammy was recently overseas, Greece or Italy, someplace I ain't been, and was singing her heart out. And I got this beautiful collage of pictures and all of these people in the street. And I'm saying, whoa, look at my baby go. So you can think of challenging techniques, pieces.
The most challenging classical pieces that I've ever approached is all of them. Uh, every single one. Classical music in itself is not for the faint of heart. Classical vocal presentation is set aside from every other because what happens is your entire body becomes a mechanism and a vessel for presenting this music. So when I say that, I mean, if you would have gone to see Leontine Price, who was singing, Tosca on a particular night, she very easily could lose 5 pounds on the stage that night performing that piece. Your entire body is engaged when presenting this music. And so the shift is, it's a completely different presentation. It's almost like, so I remember thinking that I felt like the Ethel Merman of jazz because my voice was so big, and I had to find a way, blessedly through this amazing maestro guitarist, Mr. Henry Johnson. Henry Johnson produced my record, Never Let Me Go. And he had played with Bill Williams, with Nancy Wilson, Ramsey Lewis. I mean, all of the masters. And so not only did he produce my record, but he shared with me how to harness my voice and control it. And it's like, he said it was like a flower blossoming, right? And so whereas initially I would present like a flower already open, he said, no, I want you to release it just gently, ever so slightly, and then let the power and the sound of your voice be a surprise to the audience.
Oh.
And yeah, he's amazing, Henry Johnson. If you, ladies and gentlemen, Henry Johnson, guitarist extraordinaire. Please get his CDs. Go on YouTube, Henry Johnson. He's absolutely magnificent. And
Well,
so,
I want to play a piece that kind of demonstrates this. So I'm gonna ask my producers to let's hear this blossoming stuff.
the song is called Blue Woman.
Oh.
Blue woman, why must you cry all day? Blue woman, searching for someone to wipe your tears away. Hold your head up, I know you'll get by. Everything's gonna be.
You know, I don't know what's wrong with Connor. I get in the groove, he cuts it off. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and I have some things I want to talk about. I want to talk about that bass fiddle. I want to talk about music lessons. I want to talk about your being our 2020 Chicago Vocal Musician of the Year. We'll be right back. This is Professor Amanal Dean talking with the fabulous and ever expansive Tammy McCann on Critical Talk for Muslim Network TV.
Assalamu alaikum.
I love Adam's World because it makes me learn in a fun way. That Adam has a green face and orange hair. I like this song. I like how Adam sings. I like Adam's World because it makes me happy. What? No. 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 And here's Adam and here's Anissa. Adam is and his sister. Adam is a boy and he is very smart.
Download the new Adam's World app at adamsworldapp.com and let's help tomorrow's Muslims today.
This is Professor Amanal Dean. I'm with the ever fabulous, ever expanding Tammy McCann. When you think of song people, whether it's Ramsey Lewis or Ray Charles, you're used to seeing a piano. I know that during the last Ramadan, this girl goes out and gets a bass fiddle. And I'm saying, really? A bass fiddle? Tell me about that bass fiddle, girl.
Oh my gosh. I have always loved the bass. When I was coming up, there were instruments, there were things that girls did and that girls didn't do. And the bass was one of the things that girls just didn't do. And so even though that's what really I felt a connection to, I was really, shunned away from it. And so circle back, 30 years later, I just happened to be at a concert with one of my bands, and we had some downtime. And I was looking at my bassist, and I said, "Oh, can I hold your baby?" And he's like, "Sure." And so I said, "Well, can you share with me, what the strings are and what does it do?" And so he did. And so I was like, "Well, is there anything in our book that we can do that, that I can kind of work through?" And so he pulled out a song, and it happened to be All of Me. And so I'm reading the chart, and I'm playing based on, the instruction that he gave me. And so I made it through the song, and then I was like, intuitively, I heard, when you end a song, you want to do a turnaround. So in All of Me, it's you took the part that once was my heart. So why not? Oh, Baba, why not? Why not take all of me? And so I heard the turnaround, and everybody was like, "Whoa, that was so cool, Tammy!" And I just burst into tears, and everybody was like, "Oh, what's happening? Girl crying. Everything must stop." And I was like, "I always wanted to do this. I love it so much." And so that following week, my bass teacher, he is now my bass teacher, but always my friend and one of my instrumentalists, he said, "Hey, I want you to meet me at this place. It's called A440. And he rented me my first bass. And he said, anybody that loves it this much should have the opportunity to play it. And so after that rental, my husband bought me my baby, and so now that's mine. And so I've just been taking lessons and learning how to play and sing, and I just love it. It just fills my life with so much joy.
Okay, I want to quickly get to this 2020 award. I got a text on it. I grin like a Cheshire cat. And I'm saying, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And winning this award is a very big deal. Because there are many aspiring vocalists out there, but we have one of our own in the Muslim community who is rocking it.
I must tell you this, I could never have been more floored and more honored to receive this award from my peers and from the editorial board at the Chicago Tribune. Chicagoan of the Year is gosh, it's something that they give to individuals that have made made an impact, right? During that particular current year. So there's a Chicagoan of the Year in architecture, in theater, and so on and so forth. And I am really amazed at the fact that there was an impact that was felt that I made. Here we are in 2020, which is the age of Corona, which is the age of really a blackout for music and musicians. So many amazing musicians all over the world. And I think a lot of that stems from the support and autonomy that I was given by the president of the DuSable Museum of African American History, where I am curator at large for American music. And I said to her, you know, music is a foundation by the way that we connect with each other. And the DuSable Museum has done so many wonderful music projects over the years, and our constituency looks forward to it every year. And so, but because of the virus, we had to be mindful of how, not just what we do, but how we do it. And I came up with the idea for the Cabin Fever Jazz Festival, and we presented every Wednesday a socially distanced outdoor festival with some of the most amazing artists that Chicago has to offer, like Victor Goines, who is director of the big band at Jazz at Lincoln Center, Mr. Fareed Haq, world-renowned guitarist, Joan Colasso. I mean, everybody that you could think of, we were really lucky to have them willing to partner with us to present this music. And also being able to celebrate the life and contribution of Mr. Stanley Crouch, who is a jazz music cultural critic and scholar of American culture. He was a huge part of my life, and I was asked to come and celebrate his homegoing in New York City. And so I would mention something that my mother would always tell me, is that you never know who's watching you.
Right.
You never know who's paying attention to what you're doing. So always be a representative of your family, your culture, and so that's what I tried to do. And it just so happened that somebody was paying attention this year. So I feel so humbled by this honor, and I only receive it because of all the people that have supported me over these years. I only started with this music in Chicago, I think being under the spotlight, maybe 2011. So in 10 years to come full circle, to be recognized in this way is really a blessing, and I really appreciate it.
Well, we have about a minute left, and I want you, because you know I'm going to harass you some more to come back, but I
Yes,
want
ma'am.
to talk about where you going. Can I get on your coattail and go with you? Take your suitcase.
Mama, you know, everywhere I go, you can get right in my suitcase and come on with me. You know that. I'm really excited about 2021 for more reasons than you know. You know, Corona has taken away a lot from us, but in my mind, it's given us so much more than it's taken away. I think it's given us insight. It's given us time to sit with ourselves and establish who we want to be, and how we want to move through, our lives, be it as ourselves, as wives, as mothers, as sisters, as friends. And for me as a musician, it's given me the opportunity to really, oh my gosh, to really delve into my artistic expression. We're always going. We're always going and moving and traveling. And so I've been able to write music, so much music. I've been able to do wonderful partnerships. I've done a partnership with this gospel production company called Only for Jesus. And so released a couple of singles on their label, and it's just been really exciting. Again, written music, working on a new CD project with the wonderful Mr. Fareed Haq, guitarist, and working with the DuSable Museum to bring even more exciting content about African Americans and how we contribute, or should I say, create foundationally the music of America, period, all of it. And I think that's something that I'm most excited about is the edification of American music and creating short-term, long-term, and permanent exhibits and special projects at DuSable Museum. It's really been the honor of my life to be able to support and share the music of my culture. And I can't wait to see what tomorrow brings. So I'm as excited about it as you are to see what happens.
Yes. Well, this has been one of the fastest shows. So I will get in your head and on your schedule. And we're going, because I can't, you're right about this time of reflection and space. And I think that with the calming effects of learning, really learning about music is one of the best gifts that we can get. This is Professor Amina Al-Din. I have spent a quick hot minute with the fabulous Tammy McCann and learning about music and lifting our voice. This is a production of Muslim Network TV called Critical Talk. Please visit us again.